You know, there's a hurricane aimed at South California. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a full-blown hurricane, but we've never gotten rainfall in California in August. So, I mean, historically speaking, it's not exactly like any kind of rainfall season here at all. If anything, it's like it's going to be, from what I understand, it's going to seem like a tropical storm. Going to feel like a tropical storm with rainfall for sure. But August is supposed to be peak wildfire season, and it's super dry. It's kind of wild. There's also the siren stuff that we're going to talk about. Maui's warning, sirens, state silence, the wildfires approach Lahaina. Here's what we know. Like, the real conspiracy is conspiracy of incompetence. Conspiring to, I don't know, take as many shortcuts as you possibly can. Conspiring to constantly seek profits for your shareholders, to maintain the line going up for your shareholders, increasing shareholder value, cutting costs, maximizing profits. That is the real conspiracy, and yet good luck explaining that to people, because that's a hard story to tell. An easy story to tell that is infinitely more exciting is space lasers from China, or Oprah Winfrey and firebending capabilities that she has, supposedly, and mudslide making capabilities. Did they break the law, though, or are they just shitty? This is one of those very unique circumstances where I think, like, they absolutely should have put the necessary protections in place. However, given the negligent attitude that we have towards anthropogenic climate change and its noticeable, its noticeable impact on the creation of extreme weather conditions, I think that they just didn't think that this was necessary. Down power lines are very different in high wind speeds. Like the protection that you need to put in for power lines in high wind circumstances is very different than the type of protections that you would need in a situation where there's a potential typhoon, right? Because that's what Hawaii is built for. Hawaii is designed in a way where, like, their infrastructure and their infrastructure protection requires them to have safety measures for typhoons and things of that nature, not necessarily dry high winds that could potentially down power lines. Hassan again, talk about something he don't understand. Oprah's behind this. If you look at the history, I will learn that there are 4 nation, earth, water, fire. Also, there are avatar that can control all. That's true. It's fucking silly of me to bring this up in this way. What is this last video that we're going to look at? Hassan Pepe Lab?
Okay, we can do this category. Check out this next one. Guys.
Oh my God.
This guy has found a basketball.
Okay, dude. Real funny chatter. Real funny chatter. Trump is back. Trump watch, Pack watch. We'll do all of that. So let's get started with security video. Now, my latest video, I believe my editors hopefully incorporated the part where we actually investigated the real reasons here. We're going to talk about hogs react to worst wildfire in modern history in the worst way possible. I don't know if they only put my reactions of the hogs or instead talked about, like, I don't know if they put, like, the investigation or the deeper dive we did into, like, Hawaiian Telecommunications Company. You know, I literally just we just posted this yesterday. If you want more information, you can watch that. But turns out we were right. This community was right. It wasn't space lasers or Oprah or any number of different psychotic conspiracies. It was a down power line that they did not have proper protections against.
News out of Maui and the death toll climbing to 111 overnight.
You have a $3 million house, so I wanted to ask, what is your stance on mixed income housing? I'm kind of split on the topic because it could lead to housing prices sinking, which in turn could lead to certain chatters not paying their subscription anymore to avoid the top of the hour ad break. I don't like when you say bad things about Trump. Fucking asshole, the other chatter, god damn it. The other chatter, unfortunately, is correct. At the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully it's me. Fucking, you guys are giving that a 10/10 because you just ride for whoever. You just ride for whoever as long as they're chatters. That person served the top of the hour ad break 8 minutes prior to the top of the hour. That's 8 minutes early. As long as it's in the 5-minute window, then it's fine. You would never allow me to give you an ad break segue that early. But when a chatter does it, it's fine. You know, I see how it is. I see how fake and phony you guys are. There is no real legitimate consistency with the way that you approach the subject matter. There's no honor. Is that within a 10-minute window? Fine. All right, let's get started.
Night, as we learn more about what may have sparked the first fire. Gio Benitez starts us off with the latest. Good morning, Gio.
Hey, Michael, good morning. Yeah, for the first time, we're seeing new videos now of what may have started these fires in the first place, and they seem to point to downed power lines. It's all part of the investigation as the heartache here just grows. This morning, as the death toll continues to grow on Maui, new video surfaces raising questions as to what may have sparked the deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history. 111 people now confirmed dead, hundreds unaccounted for. Search and rescue teams have covered 38% of the impact zone. FEMA, the Red Cross, and the military all on the ground.
I can tell you it's going to be a long and costly recovery, but much of that work will be done here with our local people.
And watch as this security camera captures what could be an early trigger in that devastating wildfire. August 7th at 10:47 p.m., a day earlier. You hear a witness describe a flash that might be a tree falling on a power line.
It's windy, and then there's a flash, and I think that's when a tree's falling on a power line. The power goes out.
One expert saying those videos taken in upcountry Maui show the flames spreading and maybe the first evidence of downed power lines igniting a fire.
And we've got that video of that kind of explosion, and we've got 10 sensors in that community that show a very sharp drop in electrical voltage at precisely that same time.
Power line just went down.
By the next morning, August 8th at 6:37 a.m. in Lahaina, Shane True uses a garden hose to battle a fire.
That's the power line that started.
That's insane.
Started from up the road there, and all of that is still burning.
Authorities declaring that brush fire under control around 9 a.m., but then lost control of the flames hours later when the winds caused a flare-up to spread. By 5 p.m., Lahaina's historic Front Street up in flames. The power company saying it is still investigating what triggered the fire, adding the cause has not been determined. The loss weighing heavy as families are now being asked to provide DNA to account for the dead. Overnight, we spoke to the family of Bo Makai Estores Lozano, the 28-year-old still missing since last Tuesday. His mother telling us police visited her home to swab for DNA.
I want to hang on to the hope that he's alive, but after doing something like this, like, how do you hold on to that?
And the president and first lady plan to visit Maui on Monday. Now, FEMA has promised full support for the survivors who just have lost everything. They say they need those survivors, though, to apply for that support. So far, they say only 1,300 households have applied. Michael?
Yeah, as much support as we can give, they can use. Gio, thank you so much for that.
Support is $700, which is fucking marginal. You know what I mean? Here's the other thing. Maui's warning siren stayed silent as wildfires approach Lahaina. Here's what
And new this morning, the death toll from Hawaii's devastating wildfires has risen to 111, and officials are starting to release some of the names of those victims. The police chief at a news conference overnight.
My controversial opinion on this is not necessarily that this is born out of like direct negligence of those who are involved in it. I mean, it certainly there is negligence here, but the larger issue at play is our complete inability to comprehend how devastating anthropogenic climate change is. Okay? That is the reason. The infrastructure is not ready for it, because why would it be, is the attitude that most people have. And it's not, like, a lot of people think climate change happens like that, and then you wake up one morning and your house is underwater. But that's not how this goes. It's incremental. These minute changes in weather patterns end up having devastating consequences on environments that are not ready for it. And it's very frustrating. And the issue is, like, because the broader, the majority understanding of it is that it's just like, oh, it's too over-encompassing a problem to deal with, and we don't really see the immediate impacts in a tangible way, so it doesn't really matter, and we want to cost cut as best as possible, that, like, they don't put forward necessary safeguards for things that previously were thought unimaginable. This is about as tangible as it can get. Yes, I'm saying that it only until it becomes a massive catastrophic event do people actually get motivated to make the necessary changes. And all the while, there is the other side of the equation where people are legitimately looking at it and going, no, I don't want to believe that this is real. This is a real existential threat. It's too scary for me to think, or I don't want to believe it. So I would rather believe in conspiracy theories about how it is Oprah or space lasers, Jewish or Chinese. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the problem as well. 33% of the country has consistently refused to take climate change seriously, don't believe it's real at all. An even larger percentage think that it's not that big of an issue or an existential threat. You know what I mean? And the overwhelming majority do not know what the necessary steps are. What we're talking about here isn't even rolling back our carbon footprint in a meaningful way so that we can try to combat the long-term issues. What we're talking about right now is the understanding that devastation is going to occur no matter what, and we need to engage in harm reduction and mitigate the worst consequences. And even that conversation gets muddied due to capitalist profit seeking. Like, this, what we're having a conversation on right now isn't even like, oh, you need to fucking use paper straws, or you need to lower your carbon footprint, like, stop doing all this shit. Like, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, here are the necessary safeguards that are absolutely necessary to implement. And people don't even want to see it like that. They don't even think about it like that, because why should they? Yes, paramount is a better word. Necessary safeguards that are paramount in order to survive the impossible to avoid extreme weather conditions that are dramatically changing our lives. It's wild. I already ran the top of the hour ad break. Don't get fucking puggoed when I talk about avoid. I use the term avoid.
Also says that some of the remains they're finding are the remains of children. Search teams have covered at least 38% of the area, with an additional 225 people added to the search efforts and another 20 dogs. Hawaii's Governor Josh Green told CNN last night that the estimates, more than 1,000 people, are still missing. Now, scrutiny is being placed on the state's emergency response. Hawaii has one of the largest siren warning systems in the world, but those sirens remained silent as the wildfires raged.
The governor has ordered the state's attorney general to launch a review, telling CNN on Tuesday night that some of the sirens had been aging over decades. Some were broken during the wildfire. Maui's emergency management agency's administrator said the sirens had been tested just a week before and did not sound deliberately.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. The sirens, as I mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Mauka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
Here's what Hawaii Senator.
Oh, they're saying that, okay, typhoon and hurricane sirens, like the only, no, it makes sense, chat. They're saying that they would have ran towards the fire in the instance of a tsunami. They're saying that, I mean, I think this is just to cover their bases, but the point for those sirens, this is literally what I'm talking about, by the way. What I'm talking about is that they don't even have the infrastructure for a wildfire because they've never thought about a fucking wildfire over there. The only infrastructure they have in the, like, you build a city and you build these safety measures in accordance to what the natural disasters in your area are going to be. That's why there isn't that's why there aren't safeguards in Texas for potential freezing incidents where the entire infrastructure is blacked out due to their power grid getting shut down from freezing. Why would you expect that? You don't expect there to be a wildfire in a fucking tropical rainforest. Why would you expect that? Well, we should expect that because scientists keep telling it's crazy. Why would you expect a hurricane in Los Angeles? Exactly. Which is not going to be a hurricane, but it's going to, as far as I understand, a tropical storm in Los Angeles in the middle of fucking August. That's not supposed to happen. You don't have you don't spend money on snow plowing devices in Arizona. You know what I mean? Because you don't think that it's going to it's going to be a necessity. You don't have that in Los Angeles because you don't think it's going to be a necessity. Yes, grid winterization in Texas is another great example of this. It's hurricane season, but I understand your point about it being weird that it's hitting SoCal. Yes, hurricanes usually don't hit Southern California, especially not in... I mean, hurricanes don't hit Southern California in August. August is like... This is supposed to be wildfire season. Hurricane's name is Hillary. The all-hazard siren systems can be used for a variety of both natural and human-caused events, including tsunamis, hurricanes, dam breaches, flooding, wildfires, volcanic eruptions, terrorist threats, hazardous materials, and more, according to the Department of Defense Hawaii website. But as far as I understand, I guess they're saying that most of this, as you can see, look, all-hazard statewide outdoor warning siren system mostly is about tsunamis. Look, some tsunami awareness, tsunami live. So, like, they were worried that if they put the warning signs up, that people would go into high ground, which is what you're supposed to do, which is what you're geared to do, in an all-hazard situation, because that's what you're used to. They're worried that people would have rushed into high ground and the casualties would have been worse, I guess. Basically, when you hear footsteps, think horses, not zebras, for natural disasters. I do still believe that any alarm probably would have been better. I think they're just covering their bases. But yeah, in tsunami areas, they have tsunami evacuation routes with signs on them. So those are the routes people would think of first. Yeah. If you live in an area that is earthquake prone, for example, and there's never any wildfires there, let's say, when you hear the warning sirens, you're going to go rush and hide under like a door frame or under your desk and cover your neck. You're not going to immediately run outside and escape assuming that there's a fire happening, because all of the training that you've gone through is for earthquakes. Are you not worried about the hurricane tropical storm at all, though? I am worried about it because, just like we're talking about this, there is no flood prevention in California. The water basin in the LA River is not, what's the term? Is not made out of material that is not made out of material that is supposed to allow the water to escape into the ground. It's not porous. It's not absorbent, which means it will absolutely fucking flood. Then you also have the other problem where the sediment on top of the ground is not used to that level of rainfall, especially at all, but especially not used to that level of rainfall in August. So that will probably cause mudslides, landslides. That's going to be another issue. So we'll see what happens. But for people that don't know, the LA River is concrete. The bottom of the LA River is all concrete. That's why you see cars driving on it in like movies and shit like that. That's not porous. It's not permeable. Water does not seep into the ground. The amount of water that can seep into the ground from concrete is minimal. So when that happens, the water levels keep rising, and will most likely flood. Dumb question, why is it concrete? Foolish decisions made by the engineering corps, like at a time when they thought that it would be better to, I guess, have some kind of like river going through the city. It is intentional, yes. Like they wanted to create a canal structure, I guess. Maybe we could see Oprah as a waterbender as well if she has properties in LA.
What is up? This is your LA in a minute. Today I want to talk about the Los Angeles River. Let's get into it. The LA River as we know it is a 51-mile concrete channel near its mouth in Bell Creek in Canoga Park to Long Beach, where it lets out into the Pacific Ocean. Historically, the river was the main water source for the native Tongvan people who would also fish and hunt mammals and birds along its banks. After the Spanish conquerors enslaved the native people, Juan Crespi renamed the river Rio Porciuncula. From that point forward until the opening of the LA Aqueduct in 1913, the LA River was the main water source for the people of Los Angeles. That said, the river was prone to major...
Yeah, it was for flood control. They didn't expect storms to get fucking worse and there'd be 5 million people. Yeah, but as far as I understand, the river... Okay. Yes, it's for flood control, except they still could have done flood control with a canal structure that also had a better... Like they could have used a different, they could have used something not concrete that was more porous, so they could actually have at least some of the water feed into the ground.
Flooding. I mean significant, catastrophic flooding. In the Los Angeles flood of 1938, the river overran its banks and killed more than 100 people. A huge infrastructure followed, and the Army Corps of Engineers paved over the river and built it into a huge concrete channel. This concrete channel that I knew as the Wash growing up. Though rainwater and snowmelt are the primary source of water for the wildlife that congregate in the river, it's highly polluted as the water is mostly runoff from the 800,000 San Fernando Valley homes. The San Fernando Valley is where you'll find the Sepulveda Dam and the Sepulveda Basin, a flood control channel to manage floodwater runoff. In June of this...
There's also that shit that they could have had key points with trees and greenery and dirt to absorb the water. Exactly.
This year, the LA County Board of Supervisors voted to approve a new master plan for revitalization of the river. So the revitalization of the LA River is already well underway in certain parts, and soon, hopefully, it'll reach the entire length of this magnificent Los Angeles waterway.
This is what they do in Tokyo. Japan's underground temple protecting Tokyo from floods. It funnels away and redirects excess water from storms and typhoons.
立港のサイズはですね、直径30メートル、深さにして70メートルぐらいあります。施設としてはスペースシャトルとかですね、自由の女神がこの中にすっぽり入るぐらいのサイズをイメージしていただければいいかと思います。
I mean, too much money, man. Too much money. Completed in 2006, the chamber cost at least 230 billion yen, $2.2 billion to build. The facility swings into action around 7 times a year. For them, though, this makes sense, okay? This does make sense. Why? Because it's a fucking island. Do you see what I'm saying? California, you think about it, you're like, well, it's a desert near the water, right? So no one in California is like, oh, shit, we should have built infrastructure that could withstand more flooding. Because the reality is that they thought that water levels or the amount of rainfall would be manageable. The amount of ice melting from the top of mountains would be manageable.
This この施設ができる前の時に降っていた大きい雨の時と、この施設ができた後にできた同規模の雨が降った事例があるんですけども、その時でですね、地域の浸水被害の顔。
Last year you complained about drought, here's your water, and now you complain about that, pick a lane. No, that's, first of all, I've been talking about this for a minute now. It wasn't last year that people were complaining about the drought. California has had drought issues regardless, because once again, I know that person is joking, but I need you to understand something. The problem here is that water is not even going into the ground anyway. So it doesn't even fucking matter. It's not usable. So the floodplains are actually not helping combat the drought in general. The only thing that helps combat the drought is actually ice melt. Like that, those floodplains in Los Angeles are not creating an environment that is absorbing water. The ground is not capable of absorbing enough water in general. It has to take a much longer time.
浸水被害した家屋が10分の1ぐらいまでですね、低減できたという実証はあります。
It doesn't replenish the aquifers. Well, the only thing that replenishes the aquifers, which has for California, has been ice melt. Like snowy conditions and like mountainous regions getting more rainfall and having more ice. Like that is what has been actually a snow melt and ice melt. Well, not ice, but snow melt has been replenishing aquifers, not the rainfall. I like that these motherfuckers were like, yeah, climate change is real. Seems like a problem. Seems like it's going to increase the size, frequency of rainfall, right? Seems like it's going to be an issue for our citizens. Might as well do something about it. And that's precisely what they fucking did. That's what they did. If global warming's real, why am I cold, brother? Cold world, baby. You saw I'm potentially a dumbass, but couldn't we civil engineer our way out of this? Yes, you could. I think you could potentially make, like, substitute the concrete for more porous material. You could also create greenery and try to add vegetation to certain areas so that it sucks up even more of the water and utilizes it alongside the river basin. It's, you know, these are necessary things that you could do, which we should do, except we're not going to do it because costly. I suspect it would the infrastructure building would be fought tooth and nail by homeowners, developers, real estate developers, associations that you know, that are just a collection of fucking NIMBYs that have a complete stranglehold on Los Angeles development or California development in general. The issue with doing that is that it can destabilize the underground foundations in areas with a lot of rainfall, but I guess we'll see how LA and Southern California handles it going forward.
と言われるいわゆるノンストラクチャラルメソッドっていうのが要は物で、しない、例えば避難を迅速にすることであったり、アウェアネスを高めると、ハザードマップでしっかりと自分がどれぐらいのリスクにあるのかということを、あらかじめ知っておくというような対策っていうのは非常に効果的だと思います。
I swear to God, that looks like where they had that Jujutsu Kaisen battle in last season. With, like, the three brothers. And then, like, one of the fucking demons is like, jumps on the pickup truck on the side of the road. You know what I'm talking about? It straight up looks like that. Sorry for... Listen, every day I gotta have one fucking IAI moment. Oh, speaking of wildfires, Canada. Canadian wildfire has forced all 20,000 Yellowknife residents to evacuate.
A wildfire emergency in Canada. An entire town is racing to evacuate right now as the flames close in, and Ginger is tracking the very latest. Good morning, Ginger.
Morning to you, Rebecca. The city is Yellowknife, the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories. It's got a population of about 20,000 people, and they got to get everybody out by tomorrow, when they anticipate the fire that is far too close for comfort to take over even the highway, the one that goes in and out. So this is one of 250 fires within the Northwest Territories and more than 1,000 across Canada. We know they have had an unprecedented season, but this graphic that we're about to show you really puts it into perspective. This is all of the acreage burned to date. Look at 2023, nearly doubling their worst in the last 40 years of history. And so 600% of normal to date, an incredible one. And the impacts here have been smoke, and they will be unhealthy air quality.
Bro, what is this? Yo, what is this fucking graphic, dude? That graphic is crazy. Jesus Christ. Bro, they are literally cooking Canada right now. It's the "this is fine" meme. Yeah.
Wisconsin, back into Oregon and parts of Washington state. Lindsay.
Wow, that graph really just unprecedented there. Ginger, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Steph.
What's Oprah trying to do over there? What's Oprah trying to do out there? Y'all figure that one out? Or is this also Chinese space lasers, you think? We're struggling out here. 3/4 of Ontario's land is on fire. Thankfully, it's only about 1/8 of our population. I mean, it's still fucking awful. That shirt looks amazing, brother. Where'd you get it? Teddy Fresh. It's a Teddy Fresh shirt. Our nuts here are saying that it's arsonists from the Liberal government. So they what? They think that Justin Trudeau lit it on fire himself? Like, what the fuck? That's awesome. That's great, man. That's really cool. I think that we should keep doing that. We should just keep getting more and more manic and see where that takes us. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows what kind of fun, new opportunities we can have. Wonderful. All right. Speaking of which, speaking of nuts, going nutty with it. Let's take a look at Georgia. Georgia DA calls for Trump trial to start eve of Super Tuesday, and I'll be there no matter what.
You're looking right now at live pictures from outside the Fulton County Jail. That's where Donald Trump and his co-defendants have to turn themselves in by next Friday. If the district attorney, Fani Willis, has her way, Donald Trump will be facing trial in Georgia the day before Super Tuesday. It's a big if, but Willis asked a judge for a March 4th start date for Trump and his 18 co-defendants who are accused of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election result in the state. That trial would be just one of several potential trials that would collide directly with the 2024 presidential campaign schedule. Willis's date, however, just a proposal. The judge gets a final say. And this just in, we're seeing the first polling since these indictments in Georgia. According to an ABC Ipsos poll, 47% say the charges are very serious, and 16% say they're somewhat serious. Joining us now to talk about all of this, two witnesses who testified before the Fulton County Grand Jury on Monday, just hours before that indictment was returned. CNN political commentator and former Republican Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, and former Georgia State Senator Jen Jordan. Guys, I want to start with the reporting we had at the top of the show from Donnie O'Sullivan in terms of the jurors. You spoke to them. You both spoke to them. You both said they took their jobs very seriously. It was a very sober and heavy kind of moment. Their names were in, as they were supposed to be based on Georgia law, the indictment. They are now being doxxed. Their names are now floating around. There are threats.
That's really cool side effect of, Republicans, conservatives just getting more nutty with it as well, is that they're just like, oh, let's just create an environment that is completely unsustainable for people that are like exercising their civic duties, for example. Let's just like fucking dox them. Who knows what'll come of that, Great stuff. It's American politics has basically turned into what is this, going down the TikTok conspiracy rabbit hole? Okay, we were gonna watch this the other day and I skipped it, but I might actually end up watching it. American politics has gotten to a point now where there's a tremendous amount of astroturfing happening on either side of the political spectrum, but especially on the Republican side. And with one side's supporters just basically engaging in light to very vicious and open acts of domestic terrorism, like light domestic terrorism to like genuinely terrifying acts of domestic terrorism, right? And then the other side kind of not really doing anything about it. You just can't. What are you supposed to do? The other side just going, come on, please, Democrats and people in positions of power, can you please do something about this? And then they're like, our hands are tied. You know what I mean? It's great. Cool. Just a little bit. Let them have a little bit of domestic terrorism. It's just, you're supposed to let them get comfy with it.
Threats being directed at them. You
vote them out of office? Yeah, go ahead. Vote the 4chan kiddies out of office. The offices that they hold. That'll certainly work for you. Yeah, vote them out.
I think have faced similar types of threats over the course of the last couple of years. What's your response to what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I think that this is just kind of a prelude of what's to come. I wish that Georgia law didn't require that their names to be in there, but it does. But it is incredibly serious. The lieutenant governor and I both had significant threats against our lives and our families. And look, we played such a small role. But if you have Trump supporters who really look at these grand jurors as kind of the reason that this case is going forward, and with Trump saying, this isn't true, these are lies. I mean, these people's lives are in danger and their families are in danger, and it's very, very serious.
I keep thinking about whether that law needs to be amended in Georgia for such high-profile RICO, especially cases like this. The Trump one is one. It's terrible what's happening. I mean, their names are just like right there on page 9 in the indictment. But the other Young Thug case that's going on right now, and there's just a lot of high-profile cases that these jurors have no choice whether they're to participate, it's their constitutional duty, and whether their names are out there.
Yeah,
Should that law be amended?
I had no idea that was the law. Certainly my first time going through this grand jury process as a witness. But
yeah, I can't imagine there's any value to publishing those names and putting them out there. But I think this speaks to the culture that Donald Trump has built, right? This culture of anger, right? And he's just confused so many good-hearted Republicans and folks all across the country to think that conservatism means you got to be angry and loud and visceral. That has nothing to do with conservatism.
Controversial opinion. Key witness in this RICO case going on CNN and constantly talking about civility politics, probably not the best idea. Especially as it pertains to the court of public opinion. I mean, you can't stop an individual from engaging in such acts, but it does weird me out a little bit how much he's on CNN, how much it seems like he's angling for like a media job. He wrote a book. Like, you're a witness, dog. You're a key witness in a court case. Do you understand? That's not, like, what the fuck's happening? This is not new. What's the problem? The problem is, I want especially the Georgia RICO case, which I think is the most damaging out of all of the individual cases that Trump is facing at the moment, to go as smoothly as possible. Okay? Milk the money, milk the teat, and make your money after the court case is over, not before. Because if you do it before, you're just, you're riling up the hogs. You're giving in to Donald Trump's claims that, there is something fucked up happening. It's just not, you have a situation where there is people engaging in manic attacks very publicly. And then you're just over here being like, yeah, it's just the civility of the situation. I did my due diligence. It's like, dude, come on, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up.
And so to think anybody would take out the angst on these folks or us or anybody else that's been involved in this process, calling balls and strikes, is painful.
Well, I think the bigger issue really is, these are just the grand jurors. Can you imagine who is going to be sitting on the jury and what they're going to be subjected to?
And we already saw the threat to the judge.
Why would you want it to go smoothly? Give me all the crazy. I mean, kind of like this. I'm a hedonist, but I tell you all the time, sometimes you have to offset pleasure in the short term so you can maximize pleasure on the long term. Okay? If the goal is for the crazy to happen, well, the crazy is going to happen. It's bound to happen. It's Donald Trump in a court case. Except the payoff is much better if the court case goes smooth. You see what I'm saying? Don't give up on a major payoff in the long term for a little bit of short-term benefits.
In the federal case.
Absolutely. This law would be the same, right? As I understand it, this is not just about grand juries. Would this also be about the jury in Georgia in the criminal trial?
In Fulton County, there's going to be a camera, right?
Yeah.
These folks are going to be on screen every day. Everyone is going to know who they are. Their lives are going to be turned upside down. And so just to be able to sit a jury of people who would be even willing to put, their lives on the line is going to be really, really difficult. So it's something that we all need to be thinking about. I know that the DA's office is, but it is, it's serious.
Jeff, flipping to the political side of things, because you have been very clear for months now, including in the wake of this case, that this is the moment where Republicans need to pivot. After the first indictment, the second indictment, the third indictment, the fourth indictment. There's a big debate coming up. You look at the new polling we were just talking about. It's a snapshot. It doesn't tell the whole story, but I think we had 47% say the charges are very serious, 16% say somewhat serious. Again, there's some other polling that showed 53% of Americans believe that he definitely did something illegal. Obviously, if you just take a Republican primary electorate, I think it's much smaller by a significant degree. In these first few days, do you see any of what you wanted to happen for the party, even on the periphery, starting to happen?
I do. There's certainly some motion starting to go in a different direction, right? We're just hearing conversations. There's a lot of inquiries around what is next, right? And I think we have to break this down as a business problem. Donald Trump went on a multi-year crime spree. And I think Americans, I think specifically Republicans, are starting to see that. Even if the 35% of Republicans that are in love with Donald Trump are starting to realize it's an impossible mathematical.
Won't this be a blow to Trump's possible guilty verdict if he's harassing the jurors and the jurors are more likely to see how he could have possibly committed these crimes? I mean, the jurors being scared shitless is probably not a good thing. And this is the grand jury, so it's different. Grand jury jurors are revealed publicly, like their names are revealed in the state of Georgia, because no one expects, I guess, people to go after the jurors in a grand jury. Their role is very limited. It's just to start the court process, right? They're not like the actual jurors on the case. They're only saying, okay, there's enough evidence. You have proven to me that there's enough evidence that this is viable. That there is a real case here, so we should indict whoever the defendant is. Maybe it's because someone does expect it. You'll get to go after the jury that finds claim members guilty, etc.
Equation to win the election. And I think we have to break this down like a business problem, right? We've got to go attack. If 35% are diehard in love with Donald Trump, then we need to go figure out who those 65% are and message to them. And then we need to simplify it even more. Let's go figure out a way to short circuit the caucuses in Iowa and New Hampshire. Let's go take those big dollar donors that are out there that haven't jumped in yet.
Technically, the grand jurors' jobs were already done by the time their names were revealed, right? They can still be retaliated against, but they can't be swayed for any future proceedings. Exactly. Which is also the other reason why people probably have never thought that this would be an issue. Yeah, exactly. They're done. By the time their names go out there, I think it's in the indictments, and it doesn't matter because they've already done their deliberations. So why the fuck would you go after them? Except unless you're a fucking dumbass and a psychopath. And just like infrastructure needs to be hardened for extreme weather conditions, American consciousness needs to develop, and maybe some social norms need to be changed, keeping the most psychotic person in mind. You know what I mean? I'm trying to create a parallel between the first story that we covered and what's going on here. You're only as... Wait, what is this? Under Georgia law, the identities of the jurors are not a secret. In fact, the names of the Fulton jurors are listed on page 9 of the 98-page indictment released late Monday that criminally charges former President Donald Trump and 18 others. Yeah, I was shocked to find this out as well, but it's true. It's true. What this person is writing is not necessarily false. I think they're basically baiting crazies, but it's kind of like this. In the United States of America, it's a little bit harder to find people's home addresses and names and phone numbers. In other countries, a lot of that shit is completely public, especially in like European countries. I don't know if you guys know this or not. And part of that is because, they just don't feel the need to harden their infrastructure, I guess. Yeah, it's 100% public in Sweden. There you go. Yeah, we used to also have these things called phone books. Exactly. Yeah. And you can try and hide it. Same with America, same with everywhere else. But like ultimately, the reason for why it's like that is because, it's not, you're not going to fucking go and do something with that information. You can't really SWAT someone in Australia in the same way that you can in America, for example. See what I mean? So, in many respects, people don't see the need to even hide that. It's the same principle behind why the grand jury names are revealed in the indictment at the end of the deliberations process where the indictment is revealed.
And get them behind a full-scale effort to flip that 20% lead that Donald Trump's got in Iowa and then roll into New Hampshire. And now we can reset the stage. But there's never been a better time for GOP 2.0 to show up and to really lead with our policies, right? Instead of us talking about Donald Trump, what if we were talking about that only 36% of Americans think Joe Biden's responsible enough to handle the economy?
I feel like those calls have been happening.
It was a bad new poll for him.
Yeah,
it just came out this morning.
We should be talking about
But
that
to
as
your point,
Republicans.
though, I feel like those calls have been happening behind the scenes between pretty significant donors, between Republican operatives for the last 8-10 months.
It's now or never. And I'm calling on candidates. I'm calling on, I don't want to see more press conferences like Tim Scott's yesterday or Ron DeSantis's or Nikki Haley's where they kind of tiptoe around the issue. You need to call Donald Trump out for being a liar and on his way to be a felon. And we need to move forward as a Republican.
They're going to get called out on the debate stage by people like Chris Christie
Yeah,
for trying
and
to
they
toe
should.
that line.
But look, and Jeff, that's really commendable, but we've been at this point together, right? I thought January 6th was going to be that pivot point.
Yeah.
If that couldn't be the pivot point, why do we think this is? And while you've been calling it out, everybody else in Georgia in terms of Republicans have been tiptoeing.
Well, Brian Kemp this week.
Yeah, that was the exception I was going to make. I mean, I think the play to run is Brian Kemp's play, right? Go put conservatism on display, go win the right, go win the middle, and even get some folks on the left to beat a well-funded, name-ID'd opponent like Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, but you know, the whole idea is that the governor was for Trump until he wasn't, right? And that's how it is. These folks who are looking at statewide runs in Georgia that are Republicans, they aren't going to call them out, and they aren't, and we know that. So while it's commendable, and I really appreciate you doing that, the idea that this is some kind of pivot point, I just don't think it is.
I would argue Brian Kemp was against Donald Trump during COVID when we had to push back on that. He was against him when he made his own Senate nominee instead of taking Donald Trump's handpick. Brian Kemp has been his own man for 4 years.
Right.
And by the way, he won by a significant margin in a state Trump and both Republican senators
He beat
lost.
David Perdue by 52 points.
That's a lot. That's in politics. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Guys, we enjoyed this. Come back together. Thank you very much. Former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, Jen Jordan, we appreciate it.
59 of the 98 pages of the Georgia indictment, or 60% of the total, concerns just one of the 41 charges listed. That's the RICO, or Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act. It's a charge whose federal version has been made famous in TV and film, ironically, by one of the 19 defendants, Rudy Giuliani, who used it as a U.S. district attorney against the New York mob and others in the 1980s. Jason Carroll has more about it.
This is the 11th RICO indictment.
The Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO for short, was originally passed in 1970 as a tool to help wipe out organized crime.
The verdict was like a bullet, puncturing John Gotti's longtime image of invincibility from the law.
At the time, it was dubbed the trial of the century, the U.S. versus John Gotti.
The boss of the Gambino crime family was found guilty today on all 13 counts of murder and racketeering.
In the early 90s, prosecutors took down Gotti and charged him with racketeering, extortion, and murder. The law also used to take down the Lucchese family and mafia underlings throughout organized crime. RICO laws allowed prosecutors to connect multiple crimes among multiple defendants to tell a story of corruption.
This case charges more mafia bosses in one indictment than any ever before.
The prosecutor credited for using RICO to take on the mob was a young, ambitious U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Rudy Giuliani.
Yep. This is a great day for law enforcement, but this is a bad day, probably the worst, for the mafia.
And now, in an ironic twist, Giuliani is among those charged in the Georgia case, now having to defend himself against a charge he once prosecuted.
This is a ridiculous application of the racketeering statute. This is not meant for election disputes.
It's not just for people who are in organized crime. It's also for people whose collars are white and who may have Ivy League degrees. And so that's what we've seen in a variety of cases.
RICO sent shudders throughout Wall Street after jurors sent American financier Michael Milken to prison in 1990 for fraud related to insider trading and tax evasion.
And while RICO is a federal law, many states, including the state of Georgia, have developed their own versions. And prosecutors have used these laws to prove racketeering conspiracies. In other words, they string together separate allegations of misconduct committed by different people towards a common goal or purpose into a single indictment.
Fulton County, Georgia's DA, Fani Willis, is well known for using RICO. As an assistant DA, she used the law to prosecute a case against Atlanta public school educators accused of scheming to inflate standardized test scores. In her current position, she again used RICO against rapper Jeffrey Lamar Williams, known as Young Thug, alleging he oversaw crimes ranging from armed robbery to murder. He pleaded not guilty. His trial still underway. Legal experts say the RICO case involving Trump and the other 18 defendants is faced with many legal challenges.
The length of the trial is taxing on a jury.
Free sex,
and this will
free
be a long
slime.
trial. And the jury instructions at the end are hard to follow. They're complicated, and the jury will have to really pay attention closely.
Jason Carroll, CNN, New York.
Joined now by our Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst, John Miller. He's a former NYPD Deputy Commissioner. He covered organized crime's demise in New York under RICO as a reporter back in the 1980s. I was saying I always expect to see you, and do see you often, in those old mob footage.
It's my Hitchcock.
It's exactly. So how, in your experience, does a prosecutor benefit from a RICO law?
You know, the RICO law was written by Robert Blakey, a professor at Notre Dame Law School who was trying to tackle the problem with, you know, cases involving organized crime, the mob, where the boss was insulated from all the crimes which were done by people at the bottom or the middle. And he said, what about we charge the organization? So the organization...
One of the funniest aspects of the Georgia situation is that obviously Donald Trump is not going to go and personally become a false elector himself. He might not even actually contact the false electors himself, but he will set up a scheme for one of his underlings to engage in this act. However, Donald Trump did personally call the lieutenant governor, which is fucking nuts. Here's what you're not supposed to do as a mob boss. Call the guy in the position of power directly and tell him exactly what you want. So even from mob boss standards, you absolutely can, just like the federal prosecution has, nail him on numerous counts for directly engaging in acts of conspiracy, but also like playing a role personally in the conspiracy. Every fucking mob boss knows you're not supposed to make that goddamn phone call yourself. Donald Trump was like, fuck it, YOLO.
is the enterprise, and anybody who works within the enterprise, including those who run it, are equally guilty for all the enterprise's crimes. So RICO gave prosecutors a way to tell a story to a jury that this is about a corrupt enterprise and it's run by a boss and these henchmen do these things and they're all responsible.
And Giuliani, how did he use it? I mean, was he the first to do it against the mob?
That's a great question, because Anderson, Robert Blakey was sitting there writing this law, trying to figure out how to make it interesting, because it's complicated, and he was, you know, watching the Edward G. Robinson movie Little Caesar, where in the end he's screaming, "Is this the end of RICO?" And he said, "RICO, we'll call it RICO."
No kidding, really?
And then he had to fit the words to actually fit the letters.
That's amazing.
You know, racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. It sounds awkward because it is. The acronym came before the words. But the point is, it sat dormant for 10 years, from 1970 to the late 70s, 78, 79, 1980. But Giuliani revolutionized it, because he took it and he said, we're going to charge the bosses of all 5 organized crime families of New York City, the leadership of La Cosa Nostra, who sit on a board of directors called the Commission. The enterprise is going to be the Commission, that is the board of directors for the mafia, and we're going to charge all the leaders and not any of the little henchmen or anything. And he got convictions across the board in that case. And after that, people looked at RICO and said, this is a real tool to take down criminal organizations, cartels, gangs, and in applications that are strange, where you see the corruption in a police department. So the Key West Police Department was identified as a racketeering organization and put out of business in a RICO prosecution. The Hells Angels.
You have to whisper your orders into your right hand's ear at the function. No phones. Yeah. And no notes. No notes.
Street gangs and so on.
Just very quickly, there's this person now who's been charged in Texas for making a threat against Judge Tanya Chutkan and others. I guess no surprise, given the climate that we're in and the rhetoric that is being thrown around.
So we've seen threats to the Manhattan DA since Alvin Bragg brought the first Trump indictment, threats to Fani Willis in Atlanta, and even to the sheriff, and now to this federal judge who was particularly tough on Donald Trump in the first hearing. this arrest is basically a.
What will it take? Like, this is something I ask seriously because it also impacts me personally as well. Since the beginning of my shitty e-celeb career, I have been on the receiving end of a fuck ton of death threats. So much so that I'm comfortable with it. I'm used to it. You know what I mean? Like, at first, it felt really shitty. I was like, what the fuck? What's happening? People want to kill me? That's crazy. And it feels like it's just a constant, especially if you are drawing attention from a lot of the most like insane right-wing circles, both online or in general. And this is absolutely something that is so commonplace now. Like, I know that conservatives love saying, like, oh, the left is so violent, the mob is so violent, the leftist mob, like, they dox you and they cancel you, whatever. But, like, right-wingers in perpetuity have been doxing and also sending death threats to whoever the fuck they declare their villain. Like, always. They've been doing it. They've never stopped doing it. And I don't really know. Like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? How will it stop? Now they're going after random fucking jurors and shit. How will it stop? You know what I mean? What do you do? And it's basically like, it's so normalized that you just kind of know. You just kind of expect it. As soon as I found out that Georgia actually reveals the name of the jurors, I knew immediately they were going to get fucking doxxed. Immediately. It's just, I shouldn't feel that way. We shouldn't think that way. We shouldn't expect that. But we do because we know how the right behaves.
A signal from the federal government that if you make these threats, we're going to find you, we're going to track you down, we're going to charge you. It's a measure of behavior modification. You can't get away with this just by doing it and thinking nobody's going to follow up.
Yeah. John Miller, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Damn, this guy's good.